After dealing with distributions, after dealing with probability density functions, after dealing with random variables of different nature and how to operate with them, it's time for now go back to the beginning and talk about sampling. Because without sampling, there's no data that we have to operate with all these random variables from which we would use whichever distribution that you have already learned. Okay? Before actually going there, it's important that you know a few concepts. First, what is a sample? I think that you all know this is a part of a bigger thing, right? In the context of statistics, you will have a parent population, all right? This is a universe from which you are going to get elements which are going to constitute the sample. This parent population may be finite, for example, the population of a country, big as it is, it's finite in nature, or infinite, for example, the number of radioactive decays in a time frame for a given element. It's infinite in nature, but they both constitute a parent population from which you can get a sample. A sample is obviously also by nature smaller than the parent population in the number of elements it contains. If the parent population can be written or listed, then we can talk about a sample frame. And from this sample frame, this will be the simplest way for you to get a sample. From this sample frame, you can then select different elements. It will be simpler for you to get the sample of whichever size you want. Once you have the sample, then you can do the things that you were already trained to do. Get whichever random variables. From these, get statistics like the mean, the variance, the standard deviation, etc. And then with those, use whichever distribution to test whatever you want to test. Important thing for you to know as well, what is the sampling error? The sampling error, I would argue that is something that always exists. It is the difference between the parameter statistics that you estimated and the true value that it tries to model. Okay, this will always happen, but there are ways for you to minimize this difference. And the first and most important one that you need to consider is that when you are doing the sample, when you are selecting the sample or making the sample, you have to ensure that it is as representative as possible of the parent population. Don't forget what is the purpose of the sample. The purpose of the sample is for you to be able to understand the behavior of a population. But a population is by nature big. You cannot You can never test the full range of elements in that parent population. So you pick a few, and these are going to model the behavior of the parent population. You want the elements that you pick to be as representative as possible of that parent population. And then you have to pay attention to a few things. The relevance of the data. I'm going to use here an example of a school. Let's say that the parent population will be the universe of students in the school. And the thing that you want to test is the number of hours, for example, that students spend per day in social media. Okay? If this is the test that you are going to do, you are not going to interview all people in school. You are going to choose a sample. But before actually choosing the sample, the data that you are going to collect with whichever sample must be relevant to the thing that you are testing. If you are testing the number of hours students spend in social media, you are not going to inquire them on whichever device they use to access it if they actually use it. Okay, that will be irrelevant and could somehow compromise the information that you are collecting in the first place. The bias of data, the way the questions are going to be structured, are going to be made to the people that are being sampled, is important as well, because the question itself can lead to a specific answer. If it is written by someone that actually spends a lot of time on social media and sees a great benefit from it, it can be written in a way that will point for a specific answer. So you don't want that to happen. That is the bias of the data. The data hence collected would be biased to begin with. Interference of method of data selection. You want the method by which you select the data is not being interfered by anything. In this example, I could think of, imagine that you would have a specific age group, a specific class taking care of this inquiry. The fact that a specific age group or a specific small group of people is taking care of of specific characteristics, can interfere with the way that the data is being collected. Ideally, the way of collecting data in this example would be set up by a wide range of people of different ages, so that this would not interfere with the quality of the data being collected. Large enough sample. I think this pretty much goes without saying. There's a lot on that further on, but the bigger the sample size, the smaller the sampling error. The results that would be gathered from a sample that is big are going to be closer to the true results that they try to model. The appropriateness of the sampling procedure that goes along with this one that I just mentioned. And then again, I'll write it again. The sample must be representative of the parent population. This is by large the most important aspect that you have to consider. Let's go a little bit into more detail about sampling techniques. You need to know that any sampling procedure that is random means that any element of the parent population may have a non-zero probability of being selected. Now, this doesn't mean that they all have the same probability. They may have different probabilities, but there cannot be a situation in which a specific element or group of elements have a zero chance of being selected. If this happens, then it's not considered a random sampling procedure. If the elements of the parent population have equal opportunities, equal probabilities of being selected, then we are talking about a simple random sampling, which is the one that we're going mostly to use over here. In order for you to have a simple random sampling, the following criteria must be observed. Every possible sample of the required size has the same probability of being selected. What does this mean? Let's go back over here. Let's say that you have this parent population and you want to select a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elements from this parent population. You have different variations, different ways in which to collect 8 elements out of this parent population. For you to have a simple random sampling, the chances for these 8 elements to be selected must be equal. And this automatically guarantees that every element of the population has the same probability of being selected. A sampling frame is required to randomly select the items, and this is what we're going to talk about now. The selection is done using random numbers. How does this work? You have a parent population. You are going to attribute to this parent population a number, an ID number. The parent population must be in a frame, must be in a list, and this goes from 1 to n, all right? Where n is not the number of elements in the sample, is the number of elements in the frame, okay? So this should be frame, not sample. Now from this, you are going to collect the sample. So how does this work? The simplest method is to use a random number generator. Electronic device, just press enter, it starts shooting out numbers, and these numbers are random, goes from 1 to n, and issues numbers until you get a total number, the total number of elements that you want in the sample, and that's it. Okay. If you don't have that, you could use something that is called a random number table. Like the name suggests, this is a table that has a bunch of numbers, all random, positioned randomly. And then what you do? You look at that, you just have numbers. What do you do with that? Okay, I'm going to use an example. Let's say that the number that you have in the sampling frame, the number of elements, is 463. And you want to collect from these a sample of 50 elements. So you look at this bunch of numbers and you pick a place to start. Okay? Random also in nature. Then start reading numbers in groups of size equal to the number of digits of n. In this case, how many digits do you have? 1, 2, 3. You have 3 digits. So in this bunch of numbers, you're going to start at some point and pick a group of 3 digits. All right? Then you look at the group of 3 digits, and if a number falls outside the range, ignore it. Let's say that the first one that you get is 584. 584 is higher than 463. That is the total number of elements in the frame. So you cannot use it to begin with, right? So you throw it away and go to the next group of 3. If this is within this range, then you are going to the sample frame and select the element which ID corresponds to that number. Okay, and you have your first element in the sample. Continue. Next group of 3 digits. Let's say that the next 3 is the same that you got before. Okay, you cannot select the same element from the sample frame twice. Okay, so again, you are going to throw it away, go to the next one. And you do this on and on and on until you complete and you build your sample of 50 elements. Okay, it's a very simple method, not as simple as using obviously a random number generator, but again, simple enough that you need to know, because although the chances are slim, you may have a question in your exam that asks you to use a sample table to build up a sample.